Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The 2nd of May, Sheep Esports leaked the fact that SK Gaming is hiring a new bot lane in Rahel and Luon, replacing Exakick and DOS. It's a Korean import, and the community reaction was very negative. Right now, SK Gaming is 8-1, and I'm not doing this video because they're doing well, because it has very little to do with the conversation that happened at the time, but it is kind of funny. Rahel is, in my mind, the MVP, but let's focus on the point of the video. So, the community reaction was examples like this. Skull emoji, skull emoji, skull emoji. What is with these random ass imports that are going to flop anyways? What a weird move from SK. Can't see them ever making worlds this year. Please! Didn't he watch enough LCS to understand that import is no good for the region? NA fans watching EU GMs, the fuck they doing over there? I think there's a lot of criticism that is fair to give towards EU GMs for sure, but this is specifically to the idea of importing to Korean players. So my take is this. I think the community is filled with virtue signaling people who have no skin in the game at all. And they talk about how they want rookies to be playing all the time and they want, European talent to be there. But, the moment anyone underperforms, it's a call for their head out of the league. And then when the Korean players, the Korean imports perform, no one bats an eye. Even in this conversation, right? It's like the irony is like ICE is popping off completely, right? Before this happened, June was important to Fnatic, and he's popping off also. He's doing super, super well. No one says anything. No, it's the dark ages. It's the dark ages. These people haven't looked at how well these players play and are not judging them by their merit. GMing, right? If I'm GMing, my purpose is to utilize my resources as well as possible to create as powerful as possible of a team in terms of performance, right? How you market it, so of course, is important, but in the end, LEC is heavily driven by results, especially with the new format. It's like the further you go in, the more game time you have, and then potentially you can sell off your contracts, or you want, of course, qualify to the World Championship. That is the biggest incentive. So performance is king. Performance is king. Getting top 3 is super, super important in the LEC. And if that is the goal, I'm not going to be held back by some virtue. I want to make sure that my team is as good as possible. So I'm going to do as much research into everything that is available to me. And that starts with the player pool. If I'm only looking at the European player pool, I am doing a disservice to the potential of the resources I have at hand. You should scout every available player base. And then you should judge each player by the same attributes and metrics. Because the concern is when you hire a Korean player that, he's not going to try as much, or he's going to have a hard time communicating, or he's not going to assimilate well in Berlin. And those are fair points, because these are things that you need to address. But you need to address these things for every player that you sign. Every player that you sign, you need to address these things. Because there are European players that don't figure out the lifestyle in Berlin well. There are European players that don't communicate well. There are European players that don't try hard enough when they get to the LEC. So you need to judge every player by the same metric. But if you're signing players just because they are a Korean import, or you're signing a player just because they are a rookie, or you're signing a player just because he is a veteran that has won in the past, without looking at why they won and what they achieved, and what are the circumstances that they thrive under, and assessing how they are as a person, trying to do as much research as possible, going into the game and actually having appropriate analysis on how good a player actually is. These are things that you need to do regardless. Because there are Korean players that come in and they try so damn hard to bond with their teammates, to learn English, they take their classes and they use a translator and they work giga hard to make sure that they are a part of the team. And there are players from all over the world that potentially don't do that. So to judge a player by the simple label, Korean import, is sickening, and it's tiring. Because if there was a conversation about, oh, I was watching Rahel and DK challenges, honestly, this guy was not that good. I think this is a terrible signing, man. I think they should have signed Jack Spector. He's popping off, man. Maybe they should have looked into him. That's a different conversation altogether. But the conversation is, oh, the league is turning into LCS 2.0. And that's another conversation that is a part of this, right? It's like people are going to say now, well, Yamato, it's sad because the European players are not going to have jobs then. And the thing is, it's a competitive sport, right? So definitely there are players that should play that aren't playing. So that comes down to the GMing, right? And how roster building is made. There's definitely players that should play, right? And that is true for Korean imports. So that's true for rookies. That is true for veterans. There's definitely players that should be playing. There's definitely players that shouldn't be playing, right? There's definitely been terrible Korean import signings, and there's been terrible timing for rookies to also come into the league. They weren't ready and they didn't perform, right? We all agree that there's been some horrible signings done in the past. But in terms of what impact a player can have within a region, what it comes down to is how well do they perform. If a Korean player or a player whatever comes into the league and performs well and raises the standard, he is doing a massive plus for the league. Because the best players, how hard they get pushed and how hard they can push everybody else, moves the region forward. So if, for example, 2015, Fnatic, that's the easiest example, right? Huni Reignover came to the league, everyone became better. Everyone became so much better because we are chasing these demon level players that we need to catch up to. Huni was one of the best top laners in the world. Sincerely, one of the best top laners in the world, reshaped the whole league in terms of how it had to play, in terms of how he managed lane swaps, how he managed TP, how he's pressuring the map, how he's leveraging prio. He remade the whole top lane role for the region. He ran the whole region. 2016, Trick and Spirit, they reshaped the whole jungle role. Reshaped the whole jungle role completely in terms of what junglers needed to achieve in the game and the role in the game. And they made the region better. Of course, there's terrible signings too. Hashani and Vitality, he won with KT and then you import him and he just turns out to be terrible because it wasn't based on merit, right? It was based on labels. You always need to ask the why and the how and what is his actual level, what is his ambition. You need to decipher this. This is the trick of good GMing, right? And everyone points to LCS as some big disappointment. This is the import region. They're in the dark ages. But some of the most important players of the region were imports. My top 5, right? We have Doublelift, Bjergsen, import. We have Core JJ, import, Impact, import, and Jensen. I'm sure you can add a little Blabber in there. You can add Xmithy, but you get my point. These are very important players for what the NA legacy is. And there's definitely been some silly imports coming over to North America, don't get me wrong. I know that there's been some terrible GMing happening, but the label import isn't the thing that sticks out as a sore thumb. It is the GMing process and the reason why players got hired. And that's the main issue I have with this, is that Rahel and Luon weren't judged by how good they are as players, or what their potential could be, or what they've done in the previous year, or how well they could potentially do in the league. No. It was Korean import. Ugh. And that's bullshit. That is bullshit. SK now, 8-1. They're doing well, They have a shot at making it to the World Championship. They did a fantastic signing, right? They have done a very, very good job. And it seems like they can compete for a top 3 spot. It's going to be close. Fnatic, BDS, and of course SK Gaming together with G2, top 4 teams in the region. It's going to be super, super exciting. I hope that my point is clear. I will repeat it one final time to make sure that it's there. Judge players for their attributes. Judge players for how well they play. Not because of a label that really doesn't matter. Rookie, veteran, Korean import. You can set expectations, and there are some common occurrences in terms of the challenges that you might face, but it is no, and it's very, very lazy. And I think the community just likes to virtue signal. It's like, oh, rookies. If players come over here and they do their absolute best, if players are competing, doing their absolute best, and they are trying hard, and they are trying to make it for themselves, and that I don't care where you're from. I don't care where you're from. You should judge players for what they are, period. But in the same vein, if you're hiring someone just because they are a Korean import, you're trolling. And that's it. This is something that's weighed heavy many times in my heart for a very long time. So finally get it off my chest. I've been saying it on stream for a very long time, ever since the news was out. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.